So if you like to hear any lore, and I mean any lore whatsoever, check out the Patreon. Because even at the $1 tier, from the $1 to the $10 tier, your voice will be heard. When I do a poll, you can choose one of the options, and that will get picked for this week's lore. So this week's lore, by way of the Ghoulman Entertainment Patreon, comes to you on the 80's, a raider tribe from Fallout New Vegas in Mention. Near the shores of the Great Salt Lake and northern Nevada is a raiding group known as the 80's that has the ability to cover mass amounts of land. Now, I have here in my notes a little map, a little hand-drawn map. I'll show it quick. Right there. If you ever want to know what my notes look like, kind of like this. Right there is my little map that I drew. Because I wanted to make sure I understood what... make sure I understood what the state, the location, what the 80's, the land they conquer. I wanted to make sure I understood everything about that. And I wanted to have a little reference in my hands. So from what I should preface with is the 80's get their name from Interstate 80 in the United States. Interstate 80 goes all the way from New Jersey to California, running the entire length of the country. When I moved to Colorado from Pennsylvania, if I would have moved like 40 minutes north, no, not even, like probably half an hour north, I would have taken 80 the entire way through Pennsylvania, all the way across the U.S., hit Denver, and gone south. Like, honestly, if I would have moved 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes north, I would have taken a completely different route, and I would have been on Highway 80, Interstate 80. So the 80's are a raider tribe that, the way the wiki, and I get all of my lore off of fallout.fandom.com, describes them, they're never shown in game, they're only ever mentioned. But they're traditional raiders in the sense of raider gear, leather jackets. They actually have access to motorcycles. They first appeared in Josh Sawyer's personal Fallout role-playing game in 2004. Quote, a gang of bandits that operate along Northern California's 80 freeway, mostly in the region northeast of the lawless, uncontrolled city of Sacramento. And 7 years later, when Josh Sawyer got to direct Fallout New Vegas, the 80's show up. Again, they're only mentioned, but they're here. And the 80's are mainly known for raiding frontier towns, kidnapping people, and covering large areas of land with very, very few men. And like I said, they have access, at least in Josh Sawyer's tabletop version, to motorcycles. Now, the courier can ask Stella, who is a Happy Trails Caravan Company guard, a caravaner, can ask, were the 80's a gang or a tribe? And Stella will respond with, what's the difference? Raiders is raiders. Bunch of them swept into town and dragged off 2 working girls. Deputies and me gave pursuit straight into 80's territory. By the time we caught up with the girls, there wasn't much left of them. So we turned for home. Made it back to Caliente without any further losses. But we was watched the whole way. Never seen so few people cover so much land. Goddamn creepy. The 80's wanted to kill us, we would have been dead. Guess they figured we weren't the trouble. So, again, just through the game, and this is a beautiful thing that Fallout does, and I always praise Fallout for this, it never directly tells you something, and it lets your mind kind of wander with that information. The 80's, in my mind, are 3 or 4 guys that will follow somebody. Of course, they have, like, a larger group, but if you see a group of them, it's 3 or 4 guys, a motorcycle or 2, and they watch you, and they wait. And they're ruthless and they're cutthroat the same way that the white legs are, but they're quiet about it. They only show up when they need to. The white legs see somebody, they'll kill them. It's just the way it is. Like, they'll see somebody, they'll get them. The 80's will sit there and wait and go, are you worth wasting the resources? Are you worth wasting the gas? Are you worth wasting possibly a man? If there's 4 of us and we come up on one person, yeah, it's a 4-to-1 fight, but there's a chance that one of our guys could be either gravely injured or dead because of it. And it's almost a malaise that I picture when I see them, of just, we need to survive, and there's no reason for you to be out here. Now, depending on whether or not the courier destroys the white legs but spares Salt Upon Wounds, the 80s will capture the Great Salt Lake because of how weakened the white legs have become. And I have a direct quote. Again, all of my lore comes from fallout.fandom.com, and I have a direct quote here from the Honest Hearts ending of the White Legs. Demoralized by the dead horses in the Sorrow's attack, the courier and Joshua Graham led against the White Legs retreated to the Great Salt Lake. Their days were numbered. Word soon reached the 80s tribe that the White Legs' spirit was broken, their war chief a dim shadow of his former self. By year's end, the 80s would overrun the White Legs' camps, scattering the tribe into the winds and claiming the Great Salt Lake as its own. So here's a tribe of people who have taken over another conquering tribe. They have taken over the tribe that has pretty much pushed everybody out of New Canaan. Now there is the Great Salt Lake. And you have this group of people that are known for being ruthless, who are known for using these certain guns, these certain SMG guns that have driven people out. And here comes this big bad group who now has free reign of an entire city, a beautiful city. From the pictures I was looking at of the real Salt Lake, a beautiful city. A city that, honestly, if you ask me, is on the up and up. I have a feeling it's going to be the next big hipster city. And now they have complete control of this, and you can imagine what that looks like when they have motorcycles. Now, if the courier kills Salt Upon Wounds, the 80s will kill the remaining White Legs. The Honest Hearts ending for the White Legs says, Joshua Graham's chilling execution of Salt Upon Wounds seared into their minds. The surviving White Legs retreated to the Great Salt Lake, unable to shake the memory of the brutal defeat at the dead horse's savagery in battle. The White Legs feared further reprisal. They fled north, out of Utah, into Wyoming. The wilderness was harsh, and the first winter claimed over half of the tribe. When spring came, the survivors parted ways in small bands, and so the White Legs died a quiet death. No matter the fate of the White Legs, no matter the end of Honest Hearts, the 80s will try to invade into Zion. They'll try to invade through Highway 50. The Honest Hearts ending for Happy Trails Caravan Company says, the defeat of the White Legs at Zion marked a turning point in the fortune of the Happy Trails Caravan Company. Every 2 months, the caravan met with the new Canaanites in Zion Valley to trade. Happy Trails soon returned to prosperity. The vigilance of the Sorrows and the Dead Horses in defending western Utah. Initially startling to Happy Trails caravans, soon provided a blessing. The tribes united against the 80s, driving them back from Highway 50, and thus opening yet another trade route for the Happy Trails caravan. The 80s are a group that I can see the show going into. I really, really could imagine the Fallout Amazon Prime show talking more about the 80s. It's going to be taking place somewhere around California, and like I said, the 80s run from the highway, the 80 highway, the interstate, runs from I-80, runs from New Jersey to California. The entire length, it's like 3,000 miles or some shit, run the entire length of the United States. I could see, even if they're not directly there, some group, some Killian Darkwater-esque figure shows up and goes, I had to hire raiders from the north. And then they're like, what raiders from the north? And then a door gets kicked in. And then like you just see the light behind him as it like bleeds into the room, and like there's 3 big figures there, and the camera just switches to behind them, and you just see the Interstate 80 sign, and it's just like, what's up, fellas? And like that's how an episode ends. And then I could see some shit like that happening. The 80s are cool. I wouldn't be surprised if we never see them and they only show up mentioned only. Kind of like that. Kind of wish we can see them. Either way, I hope you've enjoyed. That's the 80s, and that is this week's lore. Hey, wasn't that clip great? Wasn't that a whole lot of fun? If you like that, consider listening to the whole podcast of Atomic Radio Hour. We do Fallout lore, but we also do a ton of other fun stuff. On screen right now are a couple of names that I have to thank. These fine folks are part of our Patreon. From the $1 tier to the $10 tier, every single week, your voice is heard when I ask a poll concerning the lore. And also at the $10 tier, you can watch the podcast episodes get recorded live. I want to thank these fine folks. I love you, each and every one of you. Thanks for checking us out. Stay tuned for a recommendation for what I think you should watch or YouTube thinks you should watch. And also, subscribe to my channel. Throw it a like. Give it a comment. See you guys soon. Love you.